Good morning, everybody. This broadcast is live, coming to you from the network TV of University of Tehran. Today, we have a prominent and one of the oldest translators in our country, especially in the realm of movies and series. He has had numerous works as a film translator, most of which have been praised by the critics and experts. Some of his long and successful experiences in translation for dubbing are A Man for All Seasons by Fred Zinnemann, The Heat by Michael Mann, Titanic by James Cameron, Seven Samurai and the Throne of Blood by Akira Kurosawa, The Miserables, Bring Me Alfredo Garcia's Head by Sam Peckinpah, The Godfather by Francis Ford Coppola, The Messenger, which was shown by the title of Muhammad Rasulullah in Iran by Mustafa Eghad, The Great Expectation and Oliver by David Lean, and nostalgic cartoons for my generation, and I say them in Persian/Farsi, هایت زنبور عسل، حنا دختری در مزرعه، بل و سباستیان، بچه‌های کوه آلپ، بلفی و لیلیپیت، گوریلنگوری و دختری به نام نل. To tell you the truth, the mentioned works are just a handful, and this man's brilliant career goes beyond any words and statements. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go, Mr. Hossein Shaigan. Sir, thank you for taking time to be here with us today. To begin with, I was wondering if you could let us know more about yourself and your career as a dubbing translator, and especially the films that I failed to mention, if you think that they are worth mentioning.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me for this live interview.
Sure.
As you said, I'm Hossein Shaigan. My degree in university was chemical engineering. I'm an engineer, but wrongly I'm placed in this position as a translator.
Don't say that, don't say
Yes.
that. I don't believe it.
And I was born in 1325, if I say it in Shamsi, 1946. I was born in Qazvin, educated in Qazvin. Then I entered Tehran University 59 years ago. So did chemistry. I studied chemistry for about 1 year and 2-3 months, and then I left for England.
Yeah. Sir, to clarify, you studied in the University of Tehran?
Yes.
In the Faculty of?
Science.
Science.
Yes. Chemistry department.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left for England, and I couldn't go to university straight away. I had to do some courses called GCE. Mm-hmm. Then I went to Birmingham University, did chemical engineering. Came back to Iran in 1350. Did my national service and got employed in oil company. To be precise, in National Petrochemical Company, Iranian National Petrochemical Company. As a second job, I started translation work in a pharmaceutical company in Tehran. In the evening, I used to go there for a couple of hours, and but 2-3 months later, someone introduced this field of work to me. So if you are translating from English to Farsi, in fact, in that company, I was translating from Farsi to English because it was a British foundation called Welcome Foundation. Welcome Foundation was huge at that time, and they had a branch in Tehran. and the manager was British, so he couldn't read the papers. So anything to do with the business in daily papers, newspapers, I had to translate them to English so that he could sort of be in touch with the market.
Right.
And then...
But your passion was something else. Can I say that?
No, I just didn't know there is a job called movie translation. No. In fact, my father-in-law, he had a friend, I don't know how close they were, but one day he told me that, my son, if I found a job for you, they give you about 500 tumans per hour.
Wow. At that time?
At that time, my monthly salary was about 3,500. I said, that's impossible. I mean, 500 an hour? I mean, if I work 8 hours a day, that would be 4,000. More than
your monthly payment?
Yes.
Your daily would be more than your monthly
more
payment?
Than that. He said, yes, it's like this. And then they told me you can go to a Caspian studio, which is not far from here, in Vesal Avenue. And I went there. I remember the first day I went with my wife. And I said, they've asked me to come here for translation. They said, who has introduced you here? And, you know, they didn't take it very serious. And they said, okay, you can go, come back next week. I went. And then I realized that 1 hour of film is 500 tuman is what for translation of 1 hour of film.
Oh, for
not
1 hour,
hour of work.
Yeah.
So, which takes about, I don't know, 8 hours, 9 hours.
It was disappointing.
It wasn't actually, because that was not sort of, I mean, it was unbelievable, 500 a day, an hour. Anyway, I kept going there to that studio for nearly 2 months, and they didn't weren't eager to accept me. And but I didn't give up.
Yeah.
I kept going. Finally, one day, this I don't know, technical manager, I think he was there, and he gave me 2 pages of a script. I said, you can translate this, and then after I translated that, he gave it to one of the, as we say, dubbing managers, Mr. Qambari, Mahmoud Qambari, one of the...
Mr. Qambari himself knows a little about English, I heard, right?
I doubt it.
Oh.
There are only a few people in dubbing business who have, some of them have done translation.
Atullah Kamali.
No, Mr. Kamali knew a bit of English, but I couldn't say he would translate or anything.
Yeah.
But Mr. Amirzan we have in...
Amirzan
does translation work, and...
he's good at it. Yeah.
He is good, yes. Anyway, then Mr. Qambari saw my translation, and he said, this guy is good, he can do the job. Oh, he didn't know if the translation was right or not. He just read my Farsi translation without sort of comparing it with the original text. So that was funny, actually. I was. Anyway, they gave me one film from a serial which was, at that time, was shown on Iranian TV.
You mean Ironside?
Yes.
Ironside.
Yes, one of the episodes of Ironside. And that was the start. That was the start, and after about a month or 2, I translated a movie.
What year was it, this one,
that was,
professionally?
I think it was 13. I usually say 1353, but I think it was 1354.
54.
And that translation, Mr. the late Mr. Qat'i was supposed to
Qat'i.
Amir Hushain. And he came one day and brought this translation and gathered everybody around him and said, look, this is something I haven't seen so far in this, you know, my experience, the years I have been working as dubbing manager. I just haven't touched this translation. For 27 pages of the translation, he said, I've just put these slashes.
He didn't have to modify anything. He didn't have to change anything.
Anything.
The translation was so good.
He was showing everybody, the other people who were working at Caspian Studio. And from then on, all these people who were working there, the dubbing managers, said, okay, our work should be translated by Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
Then later on, I was invited to television. I was invited to another studio, which was dubbing film for cinemas. And I was quite engaged.
Right.
At the same time, I had to be at petrochemical office.
Oil company.
National Iranian Petrochemical Company.
Petrochemical company. Sir, sorry to interrupt you. So you said that you accidentally kind of were thrown into this thing. So what about the translators before you?
They were there.
Were they any good? Because you said that Mr. Qat'i really believed in you, and he thought that you were the best. What about the previous ones?
The point is, these people were judging my translation by my Farsi.
Yeah.
And by being synchronized with the sort of original language, the size of the sentences. They were sort of, they didn't have to change the sentence so that they could sort of synchronize it with the original movie. And but the essence of the translation, that is it a correct translation or not? Nobody could say that because they didn't have the knowledge for that. I mean, you cannot judge a translation if you don't know the language.
Yeah.
But they kept saying that this translation is good, Mr. Shaigan is good, but I never believed them because I knew that they were just seeing the sort of surface of my work, the actual translation. They are not qualified to judge about it.
Right.
And
your Farsi was so good.
my Farsi,
that they didn't even need to check the original script or the movie.
Yes.
So, sir, I think that's it, because I don't think that you actually made up anything or fabricated anything. You were watching. So, another question may arise here. Back then, were you translating by through listening, or you had the scripts?
At the beginning, we had some scripts. The Americans series which were shown in Iranian TV at that time. Mostly they were produced by Universal Studios. They had scripts, but these were master scripts. Master scripts, when during the course of producing the film, they change a lot. Some sequences are omitted, some parts are added to the actual master. At times, we have master final script, the postscript. Postscript is the script which is made after the production.
Yeah.
All the dialogues are exactly the dialogues are sort of said in the film. So at the beginning, I had to get these scripts, match it with the sort of actual film, watching the film, and sort of omit the extras and add the sort of those parts which were sort of missing, and then take this script home and translate it at home. I did that for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months. Then I started translating. I mean, that was sort of very awkward, sitting there for 2-3 hours checking these script with the actual film, and then going and start at home starting to translate it.
Yeah.
Then I thought it would be very
It was a waste
easier.
of time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I started just listening and translating it, and that worked really good. And after a while, now when I think about it, actually, I can't believe it myself. You know, the way I was doing this job. I remember once three people from, I don't know, 2 of them were American, 1 English. They came to the sort of dubbing department of television while I was working. The manager of the dubbing unit that then it was called dubbing unit.
Before Revolution.
Before Revolution, yes. And these people were lecturers at the, I think, Allame University at that time. And this, God bless his soul, Mr. Safa was the sort of first dubbing, if I may call it, manager, because, you know, you get the mixed dubbing manager.
Director, let's say.
Yeah, anyway. And he brought them to the room. I was working behind the Moviella doing, translating a film, and asked me sort of to tell them what I'm doing and how I'm doing. And I told them, and there was a lady with them, and she asked me, can you work a little bit so that we can see how you translate? And I started sort of the Moviella, listened the sentence, and then wrote it down, the second one. The lady said, wait. I didn't understand what that sentence was. I said, well, maybe it's because of the accent, because I'm used to British accent, American accent, but I think you are English, so the accent is American. She couldn't understand it, but I had already translated it. So this was the job I was doing about 6 days a week, at least 12 hours a day. I was young. I was full of incentives, you know, financially, and I realized that I liked this work. Well, it was difficult because I had to go to the office till 4:30 and then go to the studio till 11, 12 at night. So, but the pay was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time I was, my salary was about 4,000 a month. I was earning about 18,000 doing part-time.
Wow.
And
Sir, lots of movies were coming from those companies, right? And our TV was also full of American or English series and movies and stuff. So can we say that the reason why it happened was that the doors were open?
Yes, but one thing that I still sort of is mystery for me is that at that time we only had one channel in Iran.
Yeah.
And so many films were dubbed. I mean, in television, well, mostly it was sort of outsourcing. There were about 6 studios outside television. They were working for television, dubbing the 16mm films for television. And 6 studios. Sometimes there were the studios in Jam Jam were sometimes active as well. And that one channel started sort of their daily programs from 4:30 till 11, 11:30. And that 7 hours was mostly news and other sort of advertising, different things. And Iranian productions.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wonder, for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours of sort of dubbed films being shown on that channel, so many films were dubbed, translated and dubbed. So many, 6, 7 studios were full-time, they were full-time working.
Can you name some of your co-workers?
Co-workers.
Back then, other translators,
At that
famous
time,
ones?
At
or?
that time, in sort of before revolution, we had Mr. Moshiri. There was Mr. God bless his soul. I have to say the late. Use the word the late. For
unfortunately.
Mr. Bahaduran. There were some people who used to come sort of every now and then, but these two I just mentioned, they were sort of full-time translators, but they weren't very active. I mean, I could say that, you know, my pay was always sort of 5 times as much as theirs. It was like that. But we had Mr. Mahdavi.
Right.
There was a Mr. Mahdavi, Mohsen Mahdavi. I don't know if you have heard his name.
No.
Mr. Mahdavi was sort of a generation before us. He was an actor.
Oh.
He very famous in Iran. And educated in England, or I don't know, maybe nearly 90 years ago, 80, 90 years ago. He was really good. And the way he was translating, and you just couldn't believe it. This guy, he used to translate at home by ear. And they used to record the sound on those recording sets, if you remember, Toshiba. Yeah. Cassette, small cassette like that.
Yeah, so nostalgic, yeah.
Yeah, they used to run the film on the sort of projector in, and you know, the noise.
Yeah, the noise was really annoying, and I really know how hard it is, sir.
And all the noises were recorded as well, along with the dialogues. And they used to send him this cassette to his home, and he used to translate films listening to these cassettes.
Sir, you know what? Now that you're talking about this, it actually brings my next question. I've always wanted to ask you this. Translating on paper, all right, so you got the script, you got the words, and you see them, and you translate. So if there are anything new, if there's any new expression, whatever, because, you know, it's not our native tongue, right? So we can check the dictionary or something. But through listening and by ear, like you said, it's really, really challenging, sir. And you really need to know all these accents, British, Scottish, Cockney, African American, Australian. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I know.
How hard is that, sir?
Well, it is, the beginning is almost impossible, you know, because this is what I was doing during the last 20 years in IRB. Those interested in doing this job used to come there and used to sort of, we had a test for them. Just translate about 10 minutes of a sort of DVD. They could use any books, any sources. The only thing which was prohibited was internet. Many people used to come, and I had some sort of very nice memories from those days. A lot of people who thought they were sort of good translators, they just, you know, it was awful, you know, these things I used to...
I've seen awful translations.
Yeah, I mean, there was a gentleman who came, the doctor, I don't know, so and so, and when I said that we are here I couldn't say a test, but this is the routine work we do here, and it's got nothing to do with me.
Right.
He was very annoyed, actually. He said, oh, I take tests at university myself. I teach in 3 universities. I said, I'm very sorry. I mean, don't take it.
He failed the test?
He went, and we had boxes there, you know, and gave him the DVD. I said, you know, about 10 minutes, about 500 words.
Yeah.
Any part of the DVD you choose, we can translate it. He went there apparently very annoyed, but 10 minutes later he came back. He said, oh, sorry, I just remembered that I have a meeting today and I can't stay. And he just left.
He didn't even do it. That's exactly what I mean, because it's really hard, sir. Because I'm an English teacher myself, and I see that in my advanced classes, the guy is like, you know, he's a CPE taker. I mean, his IELTS is like 7.58. Okay, his band scoring IELTS. Okay, and his listening in the IELTS exam is also high, like 8.9, 8.5 or 9. But then when I show something, you know, on TV in the class, okay, when I show a movie for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I say, okay, guys, please write down and note down anything you hear and understand. And when I see the result is awful.
Yeah.
Because movies, the way they talk in the movies is really different from, for example, IELTS.
Those are the students.
Right.
The people I'm talking about, there was this lady came there. I said, sorry if I'm asking, but what are your qualifications? She said, I'm just about to finish my PhD in English translation.
PhD in English translation, it's a lot. It's huge, but there's a but, right?
And she went there. I remember the DVD I gave her. The beginning of the film. It was an English movie. You see a cemetery. There's a grave here, and there's a young man with a sort of bunch of flowers, and is there. And then the next scene is in the kitchen. He's sitting there with his mother. And he says to his mother, Mom, I went to see Dad this morning. This is the first sentence. What do you think the translation of this lady was?
What?
مامان من امروز نلسون رو دیدم.
No.
Believe
Seriously.
honest to God. I just was thinking that where did Wilson come from? I mean, there's no sound close near to Wilson here. I saw that this morning. You see, of course, 9 out of 10 of the people who used to come there for sort of interested in translating movies, well, they couldn't sort of pass the test. And it wasn't difficult, the test wasn't difficult. But, well, interesting point is there that there were some young people who hadn't studied translation, hadn't been sort of abroad anywhere. They had learned English by themselves through computer and these, I don't know,
some applications or stuff.
And on the other side of this sort of line, I can say that I saw things that I couldn't believe. One day, a young boy, I thought he was about 17, 18, but later on I find out now he was a baby face and he was 26. He came from Shahrare. He had come from Shahrare and said, "Okay, go. This is a film." I remember it was a Robin Hood film.
Yeah.
And he went there. After an hour, he came and gave me 5 pages of translation. Said, "Okay, go on. I'll let you know." I checked it. I was amazed. I said, "There must be something wrong here." How could be?
And he hadn't even studied translation.
No.
It was something.
Yeah.
He was doing something else.
Yes. I said to him that you have to come again because we have 2 stages of the test, you know. But you have done the first stage, was it good? Then I gave him something a little bit more difficult. Again. And this boy worked for us for about 3-4 years, and he was very good, very good. Some of the good, you know, translators we have, I will come to that later, in television. You see, there are 2 different islands, television and sort of outside. In the old days, there were sort of studios dubbing 35 millimeter films for cinemas. Along for sort of, what do you call it, these different platforms.
Yeah.
They have their own people, they have their own translators,
Yes.
they have their own regulations, and
And you don't work for this platform. So have you ever worked for these platforms? Any of
not
them?
for the platforms, for some friends sometimes. For instance, there is, you know, Mr. Khosrowshahi.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Khosrowshahi and I have been friends for over 40 years, and I've always sort of worked together most of the times. Well, sometimes, not now. I mean, now he doesn't work. He doesn't feel very good. But he asks me to translate a film for him.
So not
Well,
necessarily.
I do it wherever it is.
Yeah.
So
You're actually doing. You're actually working these days based on the friendship and relationship that you have with these voice actors.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, that Carlito's Way was done for Mr. Khosrowshahi in one of the studios outside television, in Kualima studio, and but
He had
no.
the voice of Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I usually worked in television because there I could choose what I wanted to translate.
Yes.
Because the films used to come there to our room first, and then we were distributing between translators. And I used to see the films before anyone else. So I am sort of attached to some films, Scandinavian films, Spanish films I really like, and some, of course, there are some good films that you like to translate, you know.
Absolutely.
Not just as a work, as a sort of an interest for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know what I was talking about.
All right, so I'm going to put a full stop here.
Okay.
Please have a sip of water. Is there a difference between various genres in terms of the type of quality of translators? Like when you're translating an action, do you really take it seriously? Of course, it's different from a Shakespearean movie, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever translated like action movies or kind of this kind of, how can I say, musicals or things like that. And what difference do you see? Do you consider them low quality and you don't care about the origin and, let's say, authenticity? And you said, okay, this movie is Hamlet by Franco Zeffirelli, and I have to really pay attention to everything because that's awesome. But you know what? This action movie called John Wick, it doesn't really matter. Okay, what they say. So I'm just going to write something.
It matters what it says.
Oh,
And the point is, it matters.
right.
I mean, a cheap movie is as important as sort of a classic movie. This is my motto. You know.
Yeah.
You have to do your work properly. whatever it is.
No matter what. No matter the genre.
No, not genre, not even
Not
the
director.
The pay. I mean, I remember once a translator had translated documentary movie
Right.
called I think the English title was Savage Animal, Savage Human, something like that, translated into انسان وحشی، حیوان وحشی. This was dubbed, and then the owner of the film, that was done outside TV for sort of private company. And the guy had realized that, you know, this is not the true story of the film, so I turned it back. And they asked me to translate it again. And when I was doing that, the Persian version of the dialogues were recorded on the sort of side of the film because it was 35mm film. And I could listen to the dubbed version, the Persian version of the dialogues, and the English, of course, was the those films had the sound was either optic on the side or magnet.
Yeah.
Magnet was done during dubbing. Optic was the original film, the sound. Anyway,
Right.
and when they asked the translator, what the hell have you been doing? I mean, what is it? And he had said, okay, you give Mr. Shaigan 50% more than what you give me. So what do you expect from me?
Wow.
I said, if they had given them a wage that I sort of get to you, you would have translated, okay. I mean, that's not a very good excuse. And so anything, I mean, if you ask me sort of, someone in the street asks me something, a sentence, I have to translate that correctly for him.
Yes.
I mean, this is, but one thing is that's just beside the point. And
Yeah.
because of the work I've been doing, sort of listening and writing,
Yeah.
if somebody asks me the meaning of this sentence, it's difficult for me to tell them. I have to write it down.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, so give me a pen and a piece of paper, I write it down. I'm used to writing down the translations. Verbally, it's difficult for me. Though I was doing this job at my national service, during my national service, I was doing sort of being a translator between people coming from abroad and the sort of Iranian people. They were just translating the dialogue sort of between them. But after a few years of listening and translating and listening and writing, then it was very difficult for me to
So you got used to writing the translation,
yes,
and you lost the spirit of, let's say, simultaneous translation.
Yes,
between
no, it's
people.
very difficult for me right now.
It is difficult, yeah, I know that. Sir, you know, these days, apart from dubbing, all right, and you mentioned platforms. Yes, we have numerous platforms. And I remember that for Fast and Furious number 9, I counted that we had something like 15 different dubbing versions. Unbelievable.
Yes.
With different teams, different voice actors, and
Yes, yes.
different translators. It seems like that these days, anybody with a little bit of knowledge of English, especially with AI, which is actually my next one,
Yeah.
with AI, which came into place, and it's really helpful, right? Google Translate and other
No,
software
they are not
applications.
useful. I'm not.
Exactly,
I'm not,
exactly.
yeah.
They're not accurate, but they feel entitled that, okay, yeah, that's it, and I know what they're talking about. I went to English Institute, and my degree is advanced, and I can translate. And sometimes you see these ridiculous equivalents that they find for these expressions that are, like I said, are preposterous, seriously. kind of funny, but in the meantime, really embarrassing. And people have to consume this kind of garbage.
Yeah.
Sir, what should be done about it?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing, because we are sort of going down the hill now. Why? Well, there are so many reasons for that. But you see, when somebody goes out and learns in English, well, thinks that has learned the language.
Right.
And you give him something and he translates it. He thinks that this is right, what I've translated is right, because, I mean, otherwise he wouldn't have written it down. Someone else who has more knowledge than him, well, he can, or she can come and read this and say, no,
Yeah.
you've been mistaken. This sort of doesn't mean that here. No.
Yeah.
1354, when I first went to television, started translating a series called Baretta. Well, it was, I was really excited. I was working in television. I mean, it was, people were excited to go through Valley as passing Jam Jam. It was an excitement. Now, being there in the sort of dubbing department and sitting behind the moviella and translating, then it crossed my mind that nobody asked me, who are you? How much English do you know? Nobody checked my work. Nobody, I just, Mr. Mamdouh asked me to come to television, and there was no sort of strong securities like now. I just drove.
You just drove into...
Yes.
Nowadays, you can't.
Nowadays, I'm sort of grown old in that sort of...
it's like a military base.
Yeah, I can't go there. I have to, just like today I've come here, I have to ask somebody to sort of go...
Officiate and...
Yes, all
prepare.
these things must be done so that after 50 years, one day I want to go there, see my friends there. Anyway.
Yeah.
This was, I've always talked about this. And that's why about 20 years ago, I was consulted by one of the managers that, Mr. Sharigan, what can we do to improve the standard of dubbing and especially standard of translation? I said, well, first of all, you have to pay for it. It doesn't come free. I told him, I said, in 1356, I resigned from NIOC and came to TV as a full-time translator.
Wow. You resigned from oil company to be working as a translator.
Full-time.
It paid full-time. So it paid more than being an engineer or whatever.
7 times more.
7 times more.
Yeah. So,
Unbelievable.
in 1365, 9 years after that, I left translation work for a few years, again because of the economy of the sort of job, because I realized that this wasn't enough. So I went out, I started my own business, and then when I sort of, the money in this sort of art, if you call it, or a sort of technique,
Yeah, exactly.
point into that, wasn't matter for me anymore.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I said, I've come, and now I'm doing it now I'm doing it for love. But before that, anyone who said, did you love this job? And sort of started to say, what do you mean, did I love? Well, I'm a 30-year-old man. My love is the money I get.
Yeah.
I come every morning out of house. I'm not going to sort of make love to something or excusing somebody. I'm going to earn money, and I translate for money.
Yeah.
And I don't want these sort of shows, I've always worked for people, I'm in love with this job. These are all sort of nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
But when I went back to television, I said, okay, now I've come here and I love this work because this provided me with the small capital so that I could start my own business outside, and I feel that I owe this to this sort of dubbing business, and I would like to come here and do whatever I can, as little as it is, it may be anyway. Yeah. And for the last 20-something years, I've been going to television, though they were sort of paying me, but I was always against it because I said, well, I come here because I want to come here, but the pay you give me is not even sufficient for my transport.
Yeah, yes.
But anyway.
Sir, at the time then, as there was no internet, okay, so you couldn't get help from the internet when it came to these new idioms, expressions, and things that you might not have known. So the question is exactly this. Now, with this prevalent internet, software, translation applications, AI, artificial intelligence, what should be done? I mean, what can be done? What can we do to raise the standards?
See, going back to, say, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, well, there weren't many tools for translation. There were sort of dictionaries, but I used to go to different studios. I couldn't take sort of free editions of
huge dictionaries with
I
you.
could take a small dictionary, but that wasn't useful to me anymore. So at home I had sort of encyclopedia. I had different sort of dictionaries, huge dictionaries, and but when I was going to different studios and translating by ear, I didn't take anything with me. It was my little knowledge and my general knowledge, plus something we call it educated guess.
Educated guess.
Educated guess helps a translator a lot.
Yeah.
There are times when translating a film, you just don't get this sort of word or a sentence because of the accent, because of the music, and because of the effect in the film. And then you have to use your own judgment.
Absolutely.
That,
Sir, and when you were translating A Man for All Seasons,
yes,
and when you were translating Muhammad Rasulullah, I want to know how much you use this dictionary, because these two movies, A Man for All Seasons, has a language that belongs to what, 15th century, 16th century?
Yes, that is. Yes, it
at the
is
time
16th
century, and then Muhammad Rasulullah, which is kind of the language is a combination of prayers and holy books versus.
This is sort of I don't know. I mean, the best word for it is in Farsi.
Yeah.
I can is hardambi.
What?
You know, the situation, you know, there is no sort of, I mean, television has its own standards.
The situation right now is hardambi?
No, it was before.
It was before like that? Chaos, chaotic?
Well, it is chaotic, yes, it is chaotic. It was chaotic and still is even more chaotic.
Yeah.
You see, as I said, when I go to television and start translating films, there is nobody there to say, okay, we want to employ some translators, put an exam for them or ask them for certain qualifications, and then they employ them or they just start sort of working with them. There is not even a guy there saying, where are you going, sir? So, where am I going? None of your business. I'm a translator. Who said? I said, Mr. So-and-so. I said, okay. You see, the point is, translation, okay, needs a lot of, first of all, you have, you know, as in the old days, the dictionaries. Now, when the internet, after the internet, well, translation was changed altogether, you know, sort of.
It has become easier, but not more accurate. That's the challenge. That's the problem.
You see, it is a bit difficult. It may take a little bit more time because you have mentioned that the companies used to give us the full script, major films coming to Iran before the revolution, or even after the revolution. Some companies, the films were both from the companies, major companies. They had full scripts and exact and okay, Muhammad Rasulullah was one of them. I had everything written down in good English. And
they had bought the rights and royalties of the movie.
Yes.
And the scripts came with the movie.
Everything, music and effect, and even posters, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, they paid a lot of money for it, of course.
Yeah.
They had over $1 million paid for that
The
film.
movie was a bestseller, I guess. People really loved it.
In Iran.
Yeah, in Iran, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a loss because they could never sort of get the money back, the money they had paid.
Yeah.
At that time, $1,200,000 were paid as the royalties.
That's a lot.
So exclusive, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I translated the contract between this Mr. Muhammad Zadeh, who had bought the film, and the company. Anyway, you mentioned in your notes that nowadays the translation should be more accurate. Whether it is or not, well, we should argue about that.
Yeah.
Of course, in the old days, these scripts were translated mostly by people who could not translate by ear. They had good Farsis. There were so many people, good translators, but their sort of knowledge of English was limited. They had learned by books. And though they were sort of, some of them were prominent, some of them my old friends, but there were mistakes that, I don't know, some of them are very bad, you know, in sort of classical movies. And but at that time, there were some other people who were sort of translating by ear. The best translator, in my opinion, was Mr. Mahdavi.
Right.
Anywhere, you know, he listening those sort of cassettes. Anywhere he couldn't understand, he just put it blank and, you know, just he didn't write anything wrong. But and usually when the translation came back to the TV, the dubbing manager was sort of doing the synchronization work. They used to come to me and ask me and listen. Sometimes I could understand and sort of fill the blanks, and some other times I couldn't get it either. And but Mr. Mahdavi was, because he was educated in England and he had done, I don't know, he had a sort of high degrees in English. From
and so listening is different. So some people are good at writing, some people are good at speaking, but some people are good at listening. Listening should be really great in terms of movie translation, right?
Well, that's why when you want to assess the ability of a person by IELTS or TOEFL, they have
4 skills.
Listening, writing, comprehension, all these sort of ideas. But a good translator should be able to translate good.
Yeah, in terms of different.
Well, these things, these new, I can't call it gadgets, but AI is something, or Google Translate in the last few years. At the beginning, it was awful. It's getting better, but it's not sort of good enough right now. AI could sort of help in translation work, but on the other hand, translation, I think you can never
give it to a machine.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, I mean, this is my personal opinion. I've never believed in translating poetry.
Right.
Because I think poetry is got a body and a soul. You can translate the body, but you cannot translate.
You can never translate the soul.
You leave the soul here.
Yes, yeah. Mr. Shagan, thank you. Actually, our time is over, but as the last words, I was wondering if you could tell us, or give us some advice, if you have any, and if you have anything to say to our audience, somebody who's interested in translation or somebody who loves movies, would you please indulge us with your last words?
Just tell me, people who are interested, in what way? Doing it as a job?
As a job? So you said
as
that
a job,
it doesn't work.
I don't sort of...
you don't recommend it?
About that. About that.
Not at all.
Not at all,
Not
because unless you have nothing else or nothing better to do. Okay, you say, okay, I have to because I can't find any other job.
Yeah.
But for those who are interested in learning English and doing translation work, I think you have to be made for this, because translation, apart from all these things we say, the degree, the way you learn English, you go to this sort of an English country, you learn the language there, or you study the degrees in, but there is something, you have to be a sharp person.
Right.
Sharp person.
Sharp, smart.
Smart, yes. And you see, it's sometimes you have a sentence, there are no words in it that you don't understand. Right. They're all simple. But the combination of these words, there is a meaning in it. Absolutely. And you cannot find that unless you are a clever guy and you can sort of get the meaning out of that. And that is what is needed in translation, to be able, as we say sometimes, to read between the lines. Absolutely. There are so many things that you just, by looking at it, by reading at it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You have to have the sort of own mentality. And
background knowledge and everything.
That background and general knowledge is essential.
Essentially, absolutely. So, sir, can we say that you, finally, if you want to conclude it, you would consider movie translation more of an art, and you consider the translator as an artist? Would you?
Well, Generally, translation is considered as an art. I mean, it should be. We had sort of discussions about this, whether it is a technique or not. Well, most people believe that translation is an art. Well, there are limitations, as I said, but one thing is that, as I said before, just to sort of close the discussion,
wrap up the
these people. It's good, actually. It's good to be brave enough to have the audacity to come and start translation work, but keep it to yourself. Don't publish it, because you see, there are a lot of things I can tell you about films and about books, about different things, about translation of the sort of documents.
Right.
This been sort of one of the subjects taught in economic is called fluctuating economy.
Yeah.
That was translated by the sort of these companies by up and down economy.
Up and down.
اقتصاد نوسانی is translated in Farsi. اقتصاد نوسانی is fluctuating economy. That was translated back to English as up and down economy.
Yeah.
So these are, I think, sort of.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you very much.
It's been an honor and privilege.
Okay, I hope
Thank
that this could be useful to your audience, and
Absolutely.
We needed a lot more time to
Absolutely.
talk about translation, about movies, and
We will.
the sort of ups and downs in this sort of, if we call the art of dubbing.
It is.
Anyway, thank
Okay.
you very much.
My pleasure, sir. I thank you. So, guys, this is the end of this episode of What Lies Beneath. This broadcast was live, brought to you by the TV network of the University of Tehran. So, have a great day and thank you all.
شبکه دانشگاه تهران، شبکه حکمت و فرزانگی.